Questions?
Since you're in the real estate business, you're up here, we've got 2 years to a governor's race, you want to establish residency, I think we can pass the hat today.
No?
You got the makings of a great fundraiser here.
And he's gonna get elected in Florida.
Well, combined.
Yeah. You think we're gonna get a balanced budget amendment?
I don't think that this year we'll get it, but I do think that with the likelihood is that with the departure of some very long-term serving Democratic senators who will probably would have been reelected, and what's happened is as the older guard in Washington, particularly the Senate, depart, newer, younger, more focused philosophically people are replacing them. And so whether it's Hatfield changing his mind or more likely 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 new people coming, I believe that, yes, I think we will have a balanced budget amendment. And I think we'll have a balanced budget plan this year.
Yeah, I'd do that. I think, I've always wondered why no public official will ever say anything about paying the debt.
Paying it down?
Just pay it, yeah. Figure out some way to start paying it when we owe it. And we send it on to the next generation. Probably so big, it'll be 2 or 3 generations before we can pay it all.
Well, I'm not sure we need to pay it all off, because in the real estate business, a little debt's pretty good, so it doesn't have to be all paid off, but certainly relative to the size and scope of our economy, we are leveraged to the gills as a nation now, and it's for the most unproductive things that we could solve ourselves, again, by looking at ourselves in the mirror and reflecting on the demands placed on government aren't done in a vacuum. That's done by us. It's our own transactions in our own daily lives that create the demands, and if we focused on that by lessening demands, you would probably lessen the burden of debt as well by not creating more spending.
Well, the danger of the debt is if we owe it to foreigners, a large part of it, like $1 trillion, we'll say, at least a fourth. And
Just $1 trillion.
They've lost confidence in the way we're conducting ourselves. They might decide to borrow money from somebody else, Germany or
Yeah. If it
Japan,
gives us any hope,
We-
most of the
we are-
Western
we are
world's
at
got the
risk.
same problem.
My point is we're at risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bush, you mentioned that the sugar industries in Florida reap the benefits, and I was wondering about oil and the windfalls of oil, and will the states derive any benefits from offshore drilling and so on, in a good sense?
Well, it's not a windfall to invest and to find oil.
Well, there's windfall tax then.
Windfall profits tax?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never understood what that term meant, how a windfall, if you take risk and you, in a very high risk business and you are successful, that somehow that's a windfall, but
Seems like an oxymoron.
it does, doesn't it? In fact, I thought maybe it may have been eliminated when the oil prices were dropped by about 100% 15 years ago. But in the case of Florida, for example, we have federal tracts that are off our shore where either the federal government, this is a question of private property rights, either the federal government has the courage of its convictions. If offshore drilling is bad, then they should compensate the people that own title to this property, which is the leasehold interest to drill, and make it a public policy, statement backed up by cash that this is more important than buying oil. They don't do that. What they do is they try to find a way to create moratoriums and hope that ARCO and Chevron will go away, and they won't. They have a legal right to it. And eventually, I would hope that the federal government, if it contracted, would buy the lease out. I'm not a big fan of offshore drilling off the coast of Florida, but I do believe in private property rights, and I think the best way to resolve this is by paying the people off that have legal rights for these leases. Yes?
Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation we're talking about involved in, especially your efforts in education?
Well, one of the reasons why I think I'm here rather than in Tallahassee today is probably because I'm a fervent believer in substantial change in how our education system works, and it's hard in a campaign to explain in a thoughtful way how charter schools and vouchers and other means to create a more market-oriented system works when immediately people can scare, the other side can scare parents that believe their children go to good schools into thinking that somehow, normally what happens is it's an underlying racist message which is troubling, that all the poor students, i.e. black students, will come to the good schools where my kids go, and so vouchers are bad. It's that's the underlying campaign to attack education reform. But the foundation I've set up is involved in both actively pursuing the passage of legislation that will be part of hopefully the process to change the relationship we have with government, and to take it one step further through civic action. So we're doing 2 or 3 different things. One, we're informing people about the nature of our education system through a thing called Outside the Lines, which you've heard me, I use that term, it's kind of one of my favorite expressions. And these are scholarly works done by non-scholars on education issues. The first one was done by Child's appointee, Governor Child's appointee to the Board of Regents, who believes we should abolish tenure among university professors. The second one was written by a friend of mine who works at the Archdiocese of Miami that advocates that churches run public schools in consortium. Go back to the concept of neighborhood schools and have churches in that neighborhood be sponsors of public schools through the charter school system. The next one is going to be on charter schools, a how-to manual for the state to pass a meaningful charter school bill and how to set one up. The fourth one's going to be done by Rebecca Paul, comparing the benefits of the Georgia lottery system to the Florida lottery system, which has been an unmitigated disaster. It's raised expectations of improved education, and it doesn't go as an enhancement, whereas y'all's correctly, Governor Miller has been, I think, refreshingly correct in rewarding achievement rather than rewarding the blob by providing home scholarships. So those are the kinds of things we're doing on the information side. We are pursuing a lobbying effort to get charter schools passed and setting the stage hopefully down the road for either an initiative or a pilot program for vouchers in the state. That's 2 years off probably. And then finally, in conjunction with the Greater Miami Urban League, whose president is on the board of the foundation, we have announced that we will set up a charter school, an independent public school in Liberty City, which is the predominantly black area of town, actually in a closed parochial school, which is kind of ironic. This is a parochial school that shut its doors because its parishioners were getting older and didn't have the money. The younger ones that had children didn't have the capacity to spend $1,500 for an education, so the school shut down. We're going to reopen the school as a public school, take down the picture of the Pope, I guess, and put up a picture of President Clinton or whatever you do in a public school, and run it as a public school with no principal. We'll have a teacher leader. We'll have 5 classrooms, 100 kids. No bureaucracy. All of the administration will be run out of the Urban League on a contract basis. We will have community support of this school. The parents or parent, in many cases, unfortunately, this is an area where single-parent families dominate. The parents will sign contractual obligations to be involved in the school. The school will sign contractually as well to provide education services to the parents as well as the children. I'm going to get my mother involved in this, and since she's one of the leading advocates of adult literacy in the United States, she has a ton of people that she's got me in touch with to handle that part of the program. The children will wear uniforms, and the focus will be on reading. And so if the bill passes, which we hope it will, we will sign a contract with the school board and run this as a public school, but not based on inputs, but based on results. We will guarantee, we will commit to certain improvements in reading levels. We will do this at probably 90% of the cost that would be for the regular public school. That's I think kind of an example of what I think conservatives need to do more of. We're pretty good in the talking business. We've mastered that, talking about things. A lot of great ideas all over the place, and the state-based think tanks have been a source, a wealth of information. Now I think it's time to take those ideas and put them into practice. People's patience about these things is wearing thin. We live in an age where, as I said, there's immediate gratification. It's kind of the rule. We have to act if we are to be successful in making the case that these basic institutions need to change. So we're trying to do that. Yes?
Jeff, I was so impressed with the items you spoke to America and straighten up. I came from Korea about 28 years ago.
Yes, sir.
And the first 14 years, I guess, I received more benefit from this country. The later part of the 14 years, I guess, I gave more to this country. What I love most is pioneership in America we have, and Christianity, that we believe in God, and we have one thing more, no matter how you look different. I feel like we're losing that as well, as what you lined up and all of this stuff. However, if you have any suggestion to particularly the immigrants, particularly from Asian immigrants, do you have anything would like to see us to do something different? I feel like personally, some of us heard this twice before, but I think God has some intention to send me to this country. There's a lot of things more than what you lined up today that I think I can play a big role to make this country get better. However, if you have any suggestion or something you have done, since you're from Florida, they have a lot of immigrants, Asians. I don't know how much portion of the Asian immigrants in Florida. I'd like to hear that.
Well, the conventional wisdom would be don't work so hard, don't be so successful. That's making it hard on the rest of us. That's kind of that's how California has dealt with it, as you see how Berkeley has quota systems that restrict the number of Asians because they have achieved higher SAT scores than everybody else, making it unfair for the people that of lower achievement. My suggestion is the exact opposite, obviously, that achievement and hard work and a focus on family and providing education for your children and making darn sure that they receive it, not just that they go to school, are attributes that should be more openly shown to the rest of us as a means to solve our problems. If I had one constructive suggestion, perhaps among Asians, that the Tocqueville notion of self-interest properly understood needs to be broadened out amongst Asian Americans, I think, perhaps a little bit, that your experiences need to be shared beyond your ethnic and national groups. In Miami, my experience has been that Asians really stay very close-knit, but we don't experience the broader community activities, and it would be a benefit to everybody.